Hello, everyone. This is Gia Jones here with Parent Voices Unfiltered IG Live, and I am just going to request our special guest to join us for today's Unfiltered episode. So I see we have Jennifer here. Um, I'm going to request for her to join everyone. Let's see. Budget and policy center. That's what it
Hey,
is today.
hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. Um, I'm actually, um, I have some seasonal allergies, so
Ah,
my eyes are watery, and so don't mind me. I'm
yeah,
feeling good today. How are you?
for sure, for sure. Can you see me and hear me okay?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I think it's fine. I see the budget, the top 20 budget and policy center joining us. Super excited to have them. ID. Yes, we have really awesome IG today um, about the California um, budget revise for May. And so we want to really highlight some important bills and advocacy efforts by Parent Voices and have California Budget join us.
Uh, Love to hear from them. They're like some of my very favorite people with Budget and Policy Center. They're smart data collectors uh, that really like help us to learn how to tell the story. We're the storytellers of Parent Voices, right? But they really allow us to tell that story with the data included, and it's really helps us to be more powerful as advocates, and we're so grateful for that.
Yes, so true. Um, so we'll wait just a couple minutes. We have Adriana from the Budget Center that will be joining us.
Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in.
Yeah, so I know that we've been super busy, like extremely busy the last few weeks actually too, with um, our advocacy at the Capitol. Um, I'm sorry, she was unable to join, so I'm requesting her to join. If you're still watching California Budget Center, I just sent a request, so you should see an actual icon in the bottom of your screen. You can tap on it and request to join, or you can actually accept the invite.
We had our very first Stand for Children Day in person. We've been doing it virtually for the last 3 years. So we had our very first one in person this year. It was our 27th annual Stand for Children Day. And it was magic. I mean, really just the most beautiful, beautiful day. Um, Being able to hug each other and be together and support one another. It was really, really amazing. And listening to our youth leaders who as the senators for our people's hearing, and you know, having all of the incredible parents and providers that spoke during the conference and during our public comment section, um, and even our very fun song that we did. Instead of if you're happy and you know it, clap your
Yeah.
hands. We did a different version of that. If you don't want to pay family fees, clap your hands, right? If you want fair wages for providers, stomp your feet. Um, and if you're here to fight out PV, and so it was really fun, and to see all the kids with their butterfly wings transforming childcare together with their parents. It was really a wonderful, wonderful day.
So, yes, I know it really was. It was great to be back at the Capitol with all the parents and families and lawmakers and all the wonderful parent voices members. Um, I don't know. She's trying to join, so I don't know, Adriana, if I request you to join again, but if for some reason, if you want to, if you're able to respond in the comment section, that would be great. I hope you can join our live. Just requested you to join again. Um, we'll wait just a couple minutes. Oh, I know. Um, do you see? I just sent a request. Do you see the red, like it's like a little red bubble in the corner of the IG? You can press request, or you can send. You can actually request to join.
We'll
So
get it.
it's a little plus icon. You can go to that icon on the screen. Hi, Cradle to Career. I know we were really excited in Sacramento with while we were marching and had a rally. We also love to have your comments and feedback in our in the comment section. So feel free. I will try to answer as many questions or talk with you about your responses to the information we're sharing today.
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll Jennifer, we're still trying to get the California Budget Center on the IG, but if you want to actually tell us a little bit more about your work and different things that we're working on at Parent Voices.
Sure, I would love to. So for those who don't know me, I am Jennifer Greppy. I am the Director of Parent Policy, Parent Voices California. And I am so lucky to be able to work with families every single day who are really trying to change our childcare system. The things that are not working, the broken parts of our system that need attention, like parents are on top of it. And so we have actually 2 bills this year, well, 3 if you count them all, 596 and SB 380. Those are both bills that we are using to move forward rate reform in California. So as you all know, we do not pay our child care providers enough, and it is way past time that we pay providers a wage that's based on the actual cost of providing that care instead of the artificially low rates now. And so this bill, 596, authored by Majority Leader Eloise Gomez Reyes, and SB 380, authored by Senator Limon. They're actually the same bill, they're just one in each house. It will move us towards that care model, and will also fix our broken family fee system. So right now in California, we have been in a period of time where we've been able to freeze family fees for all families. Because of the pandemic, the federal government allowed us to freeze those family fees. And for so many families who receive subsidized childcare, they actually, for their free childcare, they have to pay between, $70 up to $600 a month for their free childcare. And so those have been waived during the pandemic, and they were about to come back on June 30th. And we were actually able, through action in the budget, to extend that out to September 30th. So we do have an extra couple months for us to be able to actually create the solution. And so we worked with parents, with other child care advocates, and with our legislators and the Department of Social Services. And we created a new family fee schedule that we are hoping will be adopted by our legislature and the governor and the Department of Social Services, which makes sure that any family under 75% of the state median income is not going to pay any fees at all. And then families between 75 and 100% of state median income will pay no more than 1% of their income. So what does that mean for the typical family? The typical family will pay, oh, hello.
I'm so sorry about that.
No, it's
I'm so sorry about that.
technology.
Right?
And then we're right to you. So for the average family, what that means is that they will pay, if you're a single mom with one child, you would pay $11 a month. If you were making 70% of state median income. Once you reach 100%, so you're making more money and you're a single mom with one kid, you would pay $70, right? So not that like super huge fee that parents are having to pay now. And so I'll just finish that thought and we will move over to the California Budget and Policy Center, whom I explained just a few minutes ago is one of our really important partners who helps us. We are the storytellers. We need that data and the information to back it up. And there are go-to people who help us tell that story. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate the love. So excited to join this conversation, and apologies again for the technical difficulties on my end. This is actually my first time doing Instagram Live, if you couldn't tell already. So my apologies, but great to be here.
Yeah, we'd love to have you.
Thank you so much. And if you just want to just give a brief introduction about your work at the California Budget and Policy Center, that would be great.
Sure. So if you're not familiar with our organization, we are a nonprofit research and analysis organization. Our work aims to advance public policies that improve the social and economic well-being for all Californians. And my name is Adriana Ramos Yamamoto. I'm a senior policy analyst with the Budget Center. I've been with the organization for a little over 4 years now, and I'm a senior policy analyst.
Wow, thank you so much.
Welcome.
I was able to speak with you in regards to another article that I was actually writing. You're awesome, so I, really wanted to have you on our IG because I thought you were very articulate and extremely well versed in actually understanding the budget and the process of helping many Californians across our state. So, since we have you here, we are really wanting to go a little bit more deeper into the actual May revise, and so I have a few questions that we just wanted to ask you as far as the governor's budget. What are some actual highlights that the analysts are able to share with us on our?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start out with like a broad overview. Maybe I can get into some specific issue areas. I know you all really, you all do great work focusing around early care, education, and child care. So I can talk about some of those issue areas as well. But for people who may just want a little bit of a grounding, the May revise essentially updates the governor's economic and revenue outlook. It adjusts the governor's proposed expenditures to reflect the revised estimates, it could revise or withdraw or add on to any initiatives that were proposed in January with the governor's proposed budget. And so just to start out with a broad overview, unfortunately, it has been clear for quite a while now, I'm sure everybody's been following, that the state's fiscal situation is becoming more challenging because revenues have been weakening and there's substantial economic uncertainty. And so the governor's revised economic and revenue forecast, they don't necessarily anticipate a recession, at least in the near term, but the administration estimates that there will be around a $31 billion budget shortfall, which is actually up from the estimate of a $22.5 billion shortfall in January. So, but despite this, the May revise, it really does protect most of the investments that have been made in prior years to really support the economic security of Californians. And also I want to mention that the governor does propose to address the shortfall by a couple of things. So by reducing or delaying some previous spending commitments, primarily one-time infrastructure spending. There's also some funding shifts, some internal borrowing going on, as well as a withdrawal from the state's safety net reserve.
Do you know how much they're taking from the safety net reserve?
I believe,
and is that
it. Oh, sorry.
day fund? Sorry. Is the safety net reserve different from the rainy day fund, or is it the same?
It's different. I can talk a little bit more about the reserves if that would be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd like to know, like, how much do we need to borrow this year, and like, what is the difference between those two funds? You don't have to go super in depth,
Okay.
But like in general.
Yeah, no, that's a really, really excellent question. So sorry, my mind kind of went to a couple of different places, but so with the May revision, the state's reserve balances would total $37.2 billion in this upcoming fiscal year, and the May revise, it mostly leaves the safety net reserve untouched, except for that one safety net reserve. So there's like a rainy day fund. There's I think it's the formal name is the budget stabilization account. There's a public school account. There's a couple of other ones. So this is just one of those reserve funds. And the specific amount that's being withdrawn here in this proposal is, I believe it's 450 million, which is one half of its current balance. And just to provide a little bit of background, the safety net reserve, it was created with the intention that it would be used to maintain CalWORKs and Medi-Cal benefits in the event of a recession, when these programs would typically see, as I'm sure you know, higher caseloads due to higher unemployment. So it's really unclear. I think this is what you're getting at. It's not clear why the governor is proposing to tap into the safety net reserve right now, when the administration's economic forecast does not include a recession. And so drawing down these funds, it could mean that these critical programs would be vulnerable to cuts in the future when the economy eventually does go into a recession.
Yeah, I think that was my biggest concern, is that they're trying to build up these reserves, which, you know, I feel like we're always saving for the rainy day, but then when the rainy day comes, we need to make sure that we have those funds available, make sure that those really critical services don't get cut, right? And that we have a strong safety net for families during those most critical times. So it makes me a little concerned when I hear that we're dipping in, even in times when we're not in true recession.
Yeah, I would say those concerns are very, very valid.
But it's a trade-off, right? Because if we don't do that, then we'll have to find those $450 million somewhere else. And where's that going to be? I mean, I have a few ideas, but you know, yeah. So right now, as you all know, we're still living under the Trump tax cuts. And so, you know, we can still go back to what, you know, those upper 1% folks were paying prior to those tax cuts. It wouldn't necessarily be a new tax. It would just going back to what they were taxed prior to those tax cuts going into place. And so it's frustrating that they're paying such a small percentage during time when we really need those folks to step up and support, our.
Yeah, if I could just piggyback on that, because our team at the Budget Center, we completely agree that there is one really key thing lacking in this May revise, which is that it doesn't plan to meaningfully raise revenues, not just to protect the state's recent progress on economic security, but also make new ongoing investments to improve the lives of Californians. And we actually saw from the Senate budget plan, which was released last month, that they included a proposal to increase revenues. So we know that it is possible to fund critical services and supports for Californians, especially those who have been shut out of economic opportunities. It just requires a commitment to raising revenue and making the state's tax system more fair.
Exactly. You hit it. I think we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
That is so true. And we're at a critical point also, even within the childcare system, to really, really demand, certain things for our families and providers. And so, what does the budget actually say about early childhood and childcare funding?
Would you like to start?
Oh, I could start. Yeah. So,
yeah, go ahead.
It doesn't say much. I'll just say that. The governor's May revision didn't have much of anything in there except for some caseload adjustment in our TANF child care programs, or what we call stages 1, 2, and 3. And, they did take some early action in the budget, which was really important, where we were able to extend that child care family fee waiver for an additional couple of months while we, try to get that new schedule that about early on implemented, and also some additional stipends for providers. But the actual budget itself had not much in it. Do you want to add what I forgot? Because I'm sure I forgot a few things.
No, I actually was gonna cover what you have shared. I'll try to provide a little bit more of context. So why this is important, first of all, is that a strong early learning and care system is really integral to supporting families across the state. And so while the May revision doesn't address major issues in the system, as what you're referring to, it does include some important proposals. So the May revision does extend the family fee waiver, as you mentioned, but it doesn't boost provider rates. So more specifically, the budget waives family fees for childcare and development programs, including the state preschool program, and for another 3 months, the current fee waiver, which was set to expire on June 30th this year, this will extend that waiver to the end of September of this year. And this is really important because those fees can be super burdensome for families, and it also creates barriers to access for people who can't afford them. And I also mentioned that the May revision does not include an increase to provider payment rates, whereas the Senate and Assembly, both houses have prioritized child care funding and proposed additional funding to boost provider rates in an effort to really move providers from quite frankly away from poverty wages. But despite these efforts from the state legislative leaders, the governor's proposed budget does not incorporate increases to provider rates.
That's right. And the bills that Parent Voices is sponsoring, AB 596 and SB 380, both attempt to begin to move our providers from the current structure and how we pay providers through a regional market rate or a standard reimbursement rate into a cost of care model. And so there is some commitment by the governor to move us towards that cost of care model, which was stated in his May revision documents, or maybe his January budget actually. But we're still several years off from that. And so what we're trying to do in the meantime, sort of as a stopgap, is look at a 25% increase to those provider rates to begin to get us closer to what that cost of care model will be, right? And it's not going, that's not all we need. Like, we need to have a 25% increase multiple years in a row to actually get us to what that cost of care model will need us to have, right? It's gonna, like, let's face it, I'm not gonna pretend like it's not gonna be expensive. It is gonna be expensive. But since the days of chattel slavery, we have been taking advantage of low income, mostly women of color, who have been carrying, and it must end. We have to pay child care providers a wage that is dignified, that represents the hard work that they do every day.
Yes, Jennifer. And Care Voices were very adamant about the actual way in which we are what's needed in transforming the child care system. And with the family fees, we've heard a few stories from our parents about how, the additional extra money actually helps, their families like each month, and they're able to, you know, have a savings, or they're able to do more activities with their kids, or it goes towards, essential things that we all need, like on, you know, a daily basis. So it's like very helpful for our families. So
Mm-hmm.
we do want the family fees, the waiver to be extended, and ultimately moving towards a more equitable way of understanding how the child care system is actually meant to help families.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the federal government doesn't allow us to just eliminate family fees altogether, which is what we would really love to do, because, we just don't think it's necessary. However, the federal government does require us to have a sliding scale family fee model. So we are really looking at, let's limit that to to fewer families, so that not as many families are having to pay the fees. So nobody 75% instead of nobody under 40% has to pay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
The actual amount of those fees is going to be reduced to no more than 1% of the family's income. That's what we're working on. And both the Assembly and Senate plan both call for that same model. Now we just need the governor to agree with us.
Excellent. And so, which also leads us to talk a little bit more about the outlook for economic security. Which healthcare does help our families to, keep their employment, and, work towards different, goals as far as like family life. What is the budget actually really highlighting as far as the outlook on economic security in California?
Yeah, that's a big question. So, and I just want to start off by acknowledging again that investments in our safety net and economic security are really so important, because everyone deserves to have the resources, food, housing, other basic needs, and to live with dignity and thrive in their communities. And we think that that's possible. We like to say all the time, I know this is going to sound a little bit repetitive, but in a state that is as wealthy as California, policymakers can create a just and equitable state where everyone is able to be economically secure. And we have the resources to do this. Again, we just need to tap into them. So it's actually very commendable. Now getting to the May revise, it's commendable that the May revise protects the safety net despite the budget shortfall. But the administration really does miss an opportunity to raise additional revenues that could further strengthen the safety net. We always want to just emphasize that. That would move us more toward a just and equitable state. So in terms of the number of proposals related to economic security, I want to list a couple around food assistance. So first of all, the administration provides a $300 million to fund California's Universal School Meals Program. So this is a pretty big deal. So this was something that started to move a couple years back. So looking at the 2021-22 budget, it required all K through 12 schools to provide meals to any student requesting them. And the additional funding that the governor proposes would ensure that schools can meet the full demand for the program. Another one that I want to highlight is that the May revise provides I'm getting so excited, I'm tripping over my words here. It provides $47 million to implement a new federal summer EBT program. This will provide grocery benefits to children who qualify for free reduced lunch, but who lose access to school meals during the summer. And the administration's proposal will not only ensure that the state meets the full demand for the program, but also it will allow the state to draw down almost $500 million in federal food assistance. The May revise also speeds up the timeline to begin issuing food benefits to Californians ages 55 or older, regardless of immigration status. And those benefits will start to be issued by the fall of 2025, I believe, instead of 2027, as the governor had proposed in January. So this is a positive development. And lastly, staying on food assistance, the May revise includes about $43 million for activities related to replacing stolen CalFresh and CalWorks EBT benefits. This is in addition to the administration's January proposal to improve the security features on EBT cards to prevent theft. So that's all on food assistance. I'll pause there because I could keep going on. I do also want to talk about CalWorks, SSI, SSP, and other economic security investments.
It's funny you should mention the stolen EBT benefit. My daughter, who she's a teen mom. Many of you heard me talk about her before. She's in college. She is on CalFresh and CalWorks, and all of her food benefits were stolen. And the process to get those dollars back has been very burdensome. So we need to do better at the state of making it much easier for parents and for folks to actually let them know that these benefits have been stolen and then get those funds back. Because luckily, she lives here with us and we could support them during that time. But had she not had any other way to get food, she would have gone 6 weeks without any food money, right? And so you just have to do better at that. And check your EBT benefit amounts regularly, because it is happening mostly from people in Florida, New Jersey, and Georgia. Is that it? There's 3 states that most of the activity is happening in. And so I just wanted to mention that.
Oh, wow. I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's definitely a real problem that impacts so many people.
Yeah, for sure. So we gotta fix that for sure. Gia, did you have another question?
Thank you for actually mentioning that, because I did also think that the PVEBT program was really helpful, and I'm actually glad to hear that they are really wanting to extend the program in the summer. So that's great. What do you think? I know this in the world of advocacy, we really try to promote bills that are geared towards helping families have access to the services that they need. But what are potential remedies for the budget shortfalls that you were talking about? Even extending the family fee waiver or other things that you analyzed in the budget.
Yeah, maybe start with some of those other 2 programs quickly and give those highlights, and then move to what some of the solutions might be. That'd be great.
Sorry. did you want me to talk about CalWorks? Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Then I'll go to your question. Yeah, no, thank you, Gia, for the question. It'll give me some time to think about it. But yeah, no, I did want to mention CalWorks too, because it really is a vital program for families that live in poverty, and including families of color. The May revise includes a slightly higher cash grant increase. Specifically, the administration is projecting that cash grants will go up by 3.6% in October of this year. That's up from 2.9% that they projected in January. And this cash grant increase that happens, it happens automatically when sales tax revenue increases, and it's not supported with the general fund. But you might recall that there was a general fund supported grant increase included in last year's budget that's slated for 2024-25, but only if the state determines that there is enough general fund revenue to cover the costs. In hearings last week, I believe, the administration said that they're still assuming that this cash grant increase goes into effect this year. But it's important to note that under the administration's estimates, the state faces operating deficits of around $15 billion in each year over the next several years. So we're really concerned about whether this cash grant increase will happen without additional revenues, which is, I've been talking about throughout this conversation, the importance of doing, the importance of raising revenue. And one other thing I want to highlight on CalWorks is that the May revise includes a delay in passing through child support to formerly assisted CalWorks families. This is really a racist, punitive policy where the government keeps some portion of child support payments as reimbursements for aid instead of passing the money on to families. Last year's budget actually ended this practice for formerly assisted families, but now this won't go into effect until April of next year. And also want to note that California still does not fully pass through child support to currently assisted CalWorks families. Last year's budget included the state's intent to do this in 2024-25. But again, this is another policy that's contingent upon there being sufficient general fund revenues to fund it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many families who need those extra dollars. And, it is really a hardship that they don't get to get the full pass through. I know it was $50 for a long time. I think it's been increased in the last couple of years, but it's still not the full amount. And so it would be great to see those increased for sure. Something that we are doing with Parent Voices in coalition with Child Poverty California, Western Center, and some others is we have a A310, which is Reimagine CalWorks. And this is looking at ending sanctions for families and making sure that families have access to the supportive services that they really need in order to succeed in the CalWorks program, as well as ending the county pass-through on some welfare to work requirements. It's a little complicated. I don't want to get into it, but we need both, right? We need to end the county pass-through, and we need to make sure that we end sanctions in their current state so that families will have to pay no more than 1% of their monthly grant, and only for 1 month, instead of the way that it is right now, where the entire portion of the parent's grant is removed, definitely, until the sanction is clear. And so most often the reason families are sanctioned is of no fault of their own. It's because they haven't been offered those supportive services that they need: child care, education, substance abuse treatment, housing, other supportive services. And so in order for families to actually succeed in the program, they really need those services. Almost 20 years ago now, when I was in the CalWorks program, I was lucky enough to have called the Family Service Team, where I had 5 different social workers who worked with me monthly to make sure that I had every single possible, support service that I needed. I was graduate with my AA degree. I was able to get a job that helped me support my family and to actually get off of services and stay off. But the reality is that that's not the experience that most families face. We've cut so much from these programs that they just don't offer the same types of supportive services anymore. And we have to make changes to that system and stop punishing families for not being able to meet those requirements.
I know it's definitely really difficult for some parents if they're in need of particular services, and the grueling process of accessing certain services can be disheartening. And so that's part of the reason why we all do the work that we do. We want to make sure having access to child care services or food assistance, and also economic security for our families is just, um, at just their reach with no difficulties or challenges. And so, Jennifer, we're really glad also that you're really dedicated to your work here at Parent Voices. Can you tell us a little bit more to what's actually happening in support of the providers in California?
Sure.
The actual efforts to securing more economic security.
Absolutely. So we are working right now on a huge effort to get 5,000 or 6,000 people to the Capitol on June 15th. There will be buses leaving from all over the state heading to Sacramento so that we can all stand in solidarity with child care providers to demand that they get that increase that they need this year to move them closer to that cost of care model that we talked about earlier. And so we put the link in the chat here. And going, you can sign up, you can get a seat on the bus, drive up there if you're close. We'll be doing carpooling and vans. So, go to parentvoices.org as well. You can hit that join us link and you can get on our newsletter. And we would be sending out sort of more information there. It's a great way to stay up to date about what's happening and what's going on. Read really great articles written by our in-house, writer, Miss Gia, and so yeah, there's two things happening. That big day on June 15th, and then we are also planning a call-in day to the governor. So stay tuned for both of those, and by signing up at parentvoices.org, join us. You can learn more about how to get involved with those.
Yes. So Parent Voices has been super busy. We had our Stand for Children's Day, and so Jennifer's also mentioning, we have particular calls to action, and we want the parents to really, let their voices be heard about these important bills and services that are needed throughout our state. And Jennifer, she's so wonderful with all our parents and families. What are some things that the parents have been expressing to you, Jennifer, about the current state of the child care?
I mean, I literally hear stories every single day about just how terrified folks are that those family fees are going to come back October 1st, and what that means for their family, because they could pay upwards to $600 a month, not to mention a co-payment, because every time we don't increase those provider rates, the amount of the subsidy doesn't actually cover the cost of what the program is. So families have to pay a family fee and a co-payment so that they can stay in the program that they love. So, yes, families have to pay a family fee upwards of $600, but they also might have to pay a co-payment of $150, $200 a week. And so that free subsidized child care becomes very expensive. And I hear stories every day of parents who are just literally, every day that we get closer, it stresses them out more and more, knowing that they're going to have to go from full-time care for their kids down to part-time care for the only fee that they can afford. Or we did a study with 6,000 families from Title V child care centers in partnership with Every Child California. And Every Child California surveyed their families, and 59% of them said that they would have to leave care. 59% of those 6,000 families, more than half, would have to leave care if child care subsidy family fees come back in the way that they were before. And so we have to do something. This isn't a like maybe we should, maybe we shouldn't. It's going to collapse the child care system if we don't do something, both by increasing the provider rates by 25% and making a more equitable fee schedule. We have to have both, and it must be this year. And the Assembly and Senate have a plan to do it. We need the governor to be on board, and we need to call on him that care cannot wait. We cannot wait on this another year. We have to take action this year.
I know. Oh, wow. I know this is like really critical. It's like a crucial point, especially since we do have really dedicated and passionate advocates, and we have great resources from the California Budget and Policy Center. This is really a way for the parents to really have their voices heard and really make significant changes to childcare, to the childcare system. And so many of us are, engaged in the calls to action and talking with the community about these important bills to support, these things being passed through as legislation. And so I
Because
know.
if anything ever changes is people have to stand up and demand that we do something different. And until they feel that pressure, until our governor hears us and sees us, he will continue to ignore our needs. So we have to consolidate all of the. Now is the time to activate.
You were breaking up a little bit, Jennifer, but I do want to ask Adriana just a quick another question. I know the California Budget and Policy Center, they in the information that they receive, they understand something else that's happening for families. What do you, if you wanted to speak to this, like, what do you think is the sentiment over the May revise? If you have any insight as far as what's happening for families and how you understand it.
Yeah, that's a really great big picture question. I mean, I would say, just to go back to an earlier point, despite the budget, the projected budget shortfall, and despite that it's growing actually from looking back to January, we really are pleased that it manages to protect and maintain a lot of the progress that has been made in prior years to improve economic security and opportunities for Californians with low incomes, specifically including investments around healthcare and behavioral health, which I know I didn't talk about. There's actually a lot I didn't talk about. I could spend all day just talking a little bit more about it. Safety net and cash assistance programs, which I did talk a little bit about. Homelessness and housing, and cradle to career education. I mean, there really is a lot. And so in terms of what it does for families, I do have to say that there are a lot of positive developments in this May revise in terms of protecting and maintaining the progress that we've been making in prior years. But I do also just want to stress again the importance of the range of tools that state leaders have that they can use to make sure that all Californians can thrive. First and foremost, we always say that the legislature and the administration should reconsider tax breaks for corporations and the wealthy, and And it's important to note that California spends more than $70 billion on tax breaks each year, many of which benefit corporations and people with high incomes. And the spending is really on autopilot for the most part. It's not reviewed each year as part of the budget process, which means that policymakers then aren't able to choose between maintaining tax breaks for corporations or investing in vital services that help all Californians thrive. I mean, Jennifer was just talking about increasing provider rates. And so this is something that state leaders can do in order to make more progress in that area. And then I know I talked a little bit about the state reserves. So that's another tool in the toolbox. So in the event of budget shortfalls, state leaders can use a portion of the reserves to ensure that essential services can be provided to Californians. And there's other ways too that state leaders can actions that state leaders can take in order to better support families across the state.
Yes, thank you so much. I know we have a few more minutes, and both of you were so awesome. I just wanted to also just briefly talk about, since there is attention towards the child care system and a particular critical point in making changes, there's also many states across the country that are actually also understanding this critical point, such as in Arizona. They are they're actually understanding different things about the parents in forms of like extended care. And also in New Mexico, they are reevaluating their child care spots. And so it sounds like particular states are understanding this demand for child care and what that means for us as a whole, and that we're really trying to make sure this process is not stifling for parents as they are continuing to raise their voices and talking with lawmakers, talking with parent advocates, and really making sure we're paying attention to those needs. And so I just wanted to really highlight that it's really awesome work. There's a lot of work to continue, and so just wanted to tell you thank you so much for joining us today on Parent Voices Unfiltered, and we are excited to continue to do this great work, and that we want our parents to be sure to check out any calls to action if we are forwarding information through our newsletter, on our IG accounts, Facebook, Twitter. We want to hear from you. And also, just to let you know, we love having, the organizations come on and give us really important information about the budget, public policies. And so we want to thank the California Budget and Policy Center for joining us today. Adriana she's very excellent, and she has really great information to share. So just want to say thank you also to Jennifer, and be sure to check out our next IG. Actually, it'll be next week, and we're going to have Clarissa on to talk about her documentary. So it's going to be a really nice IG as well. And so without, if you have any other comments or questions.
Big thank you to you, Gia, for inviting me here today. I really all the work you put into doing this, and I appreciate our partnership with the California Budget and Policy Center. Whenever I need great data, whenever I need a really cool chart that shows what families are dealing with, I go straight to their website. They have the best data.
No.
And the most incredible people ever. And so worked very closely with Christian Schumacher in the past, and we're so excited that now Laura Pryor, who's worked with Parent Voices on many, many projects in her research role, now at the Policy Center. And so we have so many great friends there, and it was really wonderful to meet you today And thank you so much for all the great.
I just want to echo that. Thank you so much for the love. We really appreciate it, and for the shout outs. I learned so much from you both during this conversation. I always do, and whenever I engage with parent voices, I always learn so much, and I always feel more grounded and rooted in the work that we do around the budget. I mean, because at the end of the day, yeah, we are looking at a lot of numbers and figures, but it's all about people. And so I'm always reminded of that whenever I engage with you all. So thank you so much for inviting me to participate. Apologies again for the technical difficulties at the start, but I'm really glad I was able to join.
Yes, us too. Thank you. All right, close us out, Gia.
Okay. And I just want to say hi, Monique. I saw you just tune in. Talk to you soon. But until next time, this is Gia Jones, and this is Parent Voices Unfiltered. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.